Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on the time you are accessing this material. Welcome to Java Programming. Today we are going to consider week 6 content. So what are we going to study for week 6? Week 6, it talks about characters, strings, and the string builder. We will see how to manipulate characters, how to declare and compare string objects. So if you want to compare if two strings are equal, how you are going to do that. Then we also talk about how to convert strings to numbers. So for example, if you're writing an application to take a number, whether int or double and so on, how you are going to convert that text you receive from the user to a number. So that's what basically we'll be considering today. So we'll see how you can change a string to a lowercase to an uppercase, or a char or a character to a lowercase or uppercase, check if the character is a digit and so on. So we are going to see the functions you can use to check all these things, and how you can convert a string to a number which you use to do calculation. So in the scanner class, it has already written the method for you to get numbers from the keyboard. But if you are writing your own user interface where you have an input box and you ask the user to enter, that text you are going to retrieve is going to be a string text. So if you are going to do calculation on that text, you need to convert it to a number. So if it's a double, you have to convert it to a double. If it's an int, you have to convert it to an integer before you'll be able to use it for calculation. So basically that's what we'll be talking about. And if you are comparing two strings, for example, if you are creating a user login and you want to check if the password and the username the user has entered, it matches what we have on an array or on the database somewhere, then you can also use a string comparison to check if those strings are equal or not. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this week's course. So let's get started. So I have zoomed the course content so that it can be more visible for you, so that you can see it more vividly. So let's get started. So we are starting with the character 1. So these are lists of functions you can call on the character, and so I'm going to mention the character, then I'll explain what the character and that function does. So I'll mention what the function does, then what the method does, then you also see the method name and what it does. So I'm briefly going to read over this so that you can get more understanding about it. It says the char data type is used to hold any single character, as you know that the char is a single character or a letter or a digit. In addition to the primitive data type char, Java offers a character class. The character class contains standard method for testing the values of characters. Okay, so the character class, we can use it to test the value of characters. So if you have a string, so each of the characters in them, you can get the character at a particular index number or at a particular position. Then you can call any of the methods to check based on what you are doing. So these are the methods and what they do. So we have is uppercase. So is uppercase to check if a character is an uppercase. So it means if it is not an uppercase, it's going to return false. But if it's an uppercase, it's going to return true. Then to uppercase changes the character to an uppercase. So if you pass in an uppercase letter or character to this function, it's going to return an uppercase. If you pass in a lowercase character to this function, it's going to return an uppercase because it changes the character to an uppercase. So if it's already an uppercase, it will return an uppercase. If it's a lowercase, it's going to return an uppercase. So it's lower is the opposite of this. It checks if the character is a lowercase. Then to lower changes or convert the character to a lowercase. So if it's an uppercase, it's going to change it to a lowercase. And if it is a lowercase, it's still going to be the same lowercase it is. Then is digit, check if a character is a digit. So the digits start from 0 to 9. So if it's within the 0 to 9, then it will return true if digit. But if not, then it will return false. Then its letter, also check if the character is a letter or not. So it means that if the letter is a digit, then it's going to return false. But if it's a character, it's going to return true. Then its letter or digit. Its letter or digit returns true if it is either a letter or a digit, or any one of them. It will return true, but any other character it will return false. Then it's white space, so you check if there is a if it's a white, the character is a white space. Then otherwise it will return false. Okay, so that's basically the functions we have for characters. So remember, a character is a single string or a single text that you are using. Okay, so now let's try some examples. So I say it's using these methods. So we use a string method called char at. Okay, so when you get a string from the user, you use the char at. So the char at gets the character at that position in the string. So if you ask the user to enter something, you use a scanner class to get that string. Okay, so we've done how to get an input from the user. So you get the string from the user, then you use a char at, then you pass in the position. So after the at, there is a bracket in the argument where you pass in the position of the character you want. So if you ask the user to enter a single character, then the position is going to be 0. So you assume that the first letter or the first thing the user enters is just the char. So then if the user press enter, so at that one we are going to get that character at position 0. Then we can call any of these methods on them. Okay. So in this example, apply. So it uses it to check, apply all the methods we have over here. So first of all, it defines a string data. It tells the user to enter a character. Then we get the data from the user from the scanner. So we create a scanner object. We use the next line to get the data. Now we need to get the character, the single letter at the position 0. So we create a char data type. So char is equal to our string data, which is data, then dot, then char at. So we want the first position. So char at 0. So this will give us the character the user has entered. Okay, so now we can call the methods we have over there at the top on the character to check, to validate, or to change, or to convert it to whatever you want to do. So to call the verb methods, you need to start with character first. So you write character, then dot, then you can call the verb method. Okay. So in this example, it checks if it's an uppercase. So we have if. So like I said, first you have to write the character first. So if character dot, then you call the method is uppercase. Then we pass in the character. So we pass in this. So if this is an uppercase, it will return that that character is an uppercase. But if not, it will return it's not an uppercase. Then we also check if it's a lowercase. So the character dot is lowercase. Then we pass in the character. So if the character is a lowercase, it will say it. But if not, it will say it's not a lowercase. And we also check if it's a digit. So if it's a digit, it will say it's a digit. If not, it will say it's not a digit. Then we also check if it's a letter. So we have the character dot is letter, then our char data type value here. So if it's a letter, it will say it. If not, it will say it. Then this one also check if it's a white space, which is the space which has been entered. So if it's a white space which has been entered, it will say it. If not, it will say it. Okay. So that those ones, the first one we wrote is just for checking the type, whether it's a lowercase or uppercase, or whether it's a digit, or whether it is a white space. Okay. So in this example, I haven't written that to check whether it's a digit or letter. So you can check that one too as well. So this one was left out. So you can check that one as well. It's letter or digit. So check if the entered value is a letter or a digit. So you can include that one in the function. But we are going to write this function for demonstration. Okay, so use a project we call with 6. Don't create a model. Create an error. Okay, so you can make class inside this. Then you can do the typing. So new class, class is made. We need the public static image. So you just take it. Okay. So now you need the scanner class, so you need to import the import Java dot. Okay. Now we'll get the input from the user. So but you call that string maybe data or however you want it. Okay. Now you create our scanner object so that we can get the input user. So scanner, can call it inputs. It's equal to new scanner. As you know, the scanner class 6 dot in. Okay. Now we'll get the data from the user, but first we need to tell the user to enter the character. System dot out enter character. Okay. So now we get the data and we store it in our string data. So data is equal to the next line. Okay. So this is a string data, but we need a char because the method we'll be calling works on char. The char, we know what the char data type is. The char data type is a single letter or a digit or a single character. So in the we retrieve it from the string by using the char at. So we use that char at function on the string, then we can get the position at 0. So we can have char, can call it a char. So it's equal to, okay, so we have our string dot at. suggesting this. So we have the chart, then our position 0 at position 0. Remember, arrays is later on I think we are going to consider an array. So when you are getting position, start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So remember that it doesn't start from 1. Position start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So at position 0, we get that character which has been entered by the user. So we are going to call the functions or the which we can use on the char data type. Okay. So now first we want to check if it's an uppercase. So if so we say start with character. So we have character dot. So we want to check if it's an uppercase first. So uppercase. Okay. So a char. We want to check if our character is an uppercase. So if it is, okay, we can have same dot out dot print. Okay, so our char is an uppercase. So else it is not an uppercase. Okay, so I will do the other one which is not in the script. I show you on the course letter or digits. So I will do that one and you can try the rest. The code on the website. So if you try and you are getting error, you can make reference. Char so then I'll do this letter or digit and that will be it. So let me run. Okay, so enter a character. So I'm going to enter a small letter, like a small a. So let's see the result here. So it says A is not an uppercase. Okay. So I run again and I'll enter capital B. Then we see the response to what we give us. Okay. So I'm going to enter capital B or capital C or capital D. So as you can see, it says capital D is an uppercase. So that's it. So I'm going to call this method because it wasn't in the other example. So it's letter or digit. So I'm going to call it on it. So if character dot is so when you start typing, even there will be a suggestion for you. So letter or digit. So a char if our character is a letter or digit. System dot out dot print char letter or digit. First system dot out dot print it's neither a letter or a digit. Okay. Okay. So we will run this. Things do not. So the first one. So enter a character. So let's key. So it says keys and uppercase. Key is a digit or a letter or digit. Okay. So key is a letter or a digit. So if I enter, let's see, let me enter a space, that space. Yes. So let me enter the space character. Okay, it's not an uppercase, so that's a space. So a space is neither a letter nor a digit. Okay, so that's it. So you can try all the other methods which is in there. So here we have its uppercase, we have its lowercase, then we have its digit, we have its letter, we have its white space. Okay, so you can try all of them and see the output. Okay, so you are going to use the one that converts one to an uppercase or a lowercase. Okay, so it's the same way we did. You call the character class. So you have the character class, then dot. Then if you want to uppercase, you call the to uppercase. Then if you want the lowercase, you call the to lowercase. Okay, so I'm going to modify the code we've written here. So we will use the same. So I'll just modify this one a little bit. So we have, as we did the other time, char is equal to, then our data, our index 0. Okay, so now we'll convert this one to uppercase and lowercase. So we can have system dot out dot println. So a char converted to uppercase. Okay, so we have our character dot uppercase. Uppercase char. Okay, so this one will convert it to an uppercase. Then we do that for a lowercase. So this one lowercase. Okay, so now I run. So I enter small a. Okay, so as you can see, small a converted to uppercase is uppercase. Now since it's small a, if you convert it to a lower, it's still going to be a lowercase. Okay, so I'll rerun it and I'll enter a small letter so that you can see the effect of the, I'll enter a capital letter so you can see the effect of the to lowercase. So I'm going to enter capital B. So you can see that it will be converted to small case B. So I'll enter capital B. So as you can see, the two lower has converted a capital B to a lower B. Okay, so that is basically about the methods you can use on the characters. Okay, so to get the character input, you declare a string data, then you call char at method on this object or in the string class or the string object. Then you pass the position of the character you want to get. So here you want to get the first character, so we add that position 0. Like I said, it starts from position 0. If in array you start from index 0, so you start from position 0. Then you get the first character. So you can, once you've gotten the first character, you can call the functions on that character. So you start with character, remember capital C and dot. So the dot will call the methods on that class, so dot. Then to uppercase changes to uppercase, to lowercase change to lowercase, and so on. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so now declaring and comparing strings. So you can declare strings in two ways. You can declare it as an object. So we have the data type to be a string, and the name of the string, and is equal to new and the class, just like the way we declare an object. The name of the class and the name of the object is equal to the new keyword and the name of the class. Here our class is string. Now this string takes in this argument. So when we're doing constructors in our class, we talk about arguments of a class. So which is called the constructor of the class. So it takes in the text as a constructor of the class. So when you pass in this, it will initialize the value for that string. Okay. So this way of declaring string is the same as writing just string, then the name of the string object, then equal to, and you just assign a value to that string object. Okay. So basically, that's it, how you can declare. Most often we declare it this way. If you want to add code a string or put a string character yourself, enter it in the code yourself. You just, most often you write string, then the name of the string is equal to, then we put in the value of our string in the double quotation inside. But you can as well declare it this way. They are the same thing. So anyhow you want it. So either this way or that way. Okay. So we move on. Now comparing string values. Now this is very important. Comparing string value. Now unlike other data type where we have the values of that data type in the address, the value match with the address, or when we go to the address on the memory, we can find the value there. String are like that. String are the values which are stored on the string object is the memory addresses. So for string, what you see on the memory is the memory address of the characters, of where the characters are stored on the memory. So it's not the actual values of that string which are on that memory. So for example, if you have string a greeting is equal to hello, okay, now the memory of a greeting is not the value hello which will be there. It will be the address where this hello has been stored. So instead of having the actual value of hello, it will have the memory address of hello over there. Okay. So if you use the equal to operator, it's like you are comparing memory addresses, because in that object the value there is the memory address and not the actual text value. Okay, so if you write, for example, if you write a greeting, then double equal to, then maybe for example you write hello, okay, this will give you a false feedback, because on the memory of your greeting is not the actual hello value which is there. It is a memory address which map to where we can find the hello value. Okay, so if you are comparing, it's like you are comparing the memory addresses, which they will not be the same, because each memory address is supposed to be unique. Just like the way we have the address system, that each address is unique, because there shouldn't be any duplicate to create confusion. Okay, so if you are comparing string with the double operator, so the concept is that we don't compare string with double operators. Other than that, it's not going to work. Okay, and we don't also compare string with the less than or greater than operators. That one it will not even compile at all. Okay, but for the equal to, double equal to, you get a false output. So always remember, when you are comparing strings, don't use a double equal to. There are methods which have been written for the string class that compares to fetch each of the characters in the string and compare them, not the actual addresses. Okay, so the following slide we are going to see some methods we can use. So you also take note of the method that you use instead of the double equal to. So when you are comparing strings, remember, use the equals method. Don't use the double equal to. Like I've explained, the string object contains the memory addresses, not the actual value. If you declare int a is equal to 20, when you go to the memory address of a, you see a value 20 there. But if you declare string maybe a string is equal to new string hello, in where a string memory, you will not see the hello in that memory. You see the memory address value. So if you are comparing one string to the other, it's like you are comparing the memory addresses and not the actual value. So you don't use the double quotation. If you do that, it means you are comparing the memory addresses and not the actual values of the string. So always remember, when you are comparing strings, use the equals method, which has been written for you. So when you have that string, so the string name dot equals, then the string you want to compare it to will come in this argument over here. Okay. Now we also have another method called equals ignore case. So the equals ignore case will check if it is equal to, but in that case it's not case sensitive. So irrespective of the cases of your string, then it will return true. So if you write, for example, Kofi, and the first letter is capital K, and you are comparing it to another Kofi with the first letter being a small k, this will return true because it is not case sensitive. It will ignore the case. So as far as the letters are the same, it will return true. If the letters are not the same, it will return false. Then the length returns the length of how many characters you have in that string. So that is the length. So if you have, let's say for example, hello. So if you have a string is equal to hello. Now if you call a string dot length, it's going to return how many characters you have in the hello string. So how many do you have? Hello, Hello. So hello has 5 characters. So in that case, the string dot length will give you 5 because that's the number of characters we have in the string. Now you've seen this function already, char at. So the char at gets the character at the particular position you specify. So like I said, position start from 0. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So based on the position you want to retrieve its string value, then you can get the value. Then we have ends with. So the ends with check the ending of your text. If it ends with that, then start with check if your string starts with whatever you enter over here. Okay. So ends with what you enter here to check if that string ends with that. Then start with what you enter over here, the string value you enter here to check if you start with. Okay. Then replace. So replace will replace all occurrences of some character within the string. Okay. So if you are replacing one string, one occurrence with the other, it will replace all places where it's and that text is sent. Then to string, okay, to convert any object to a string. For example, if you are you want to convert an integer to a string, you call to string. Okay, you call the to string method. If you want to convert a double data type to string, you call to string method. Okay. Then the substring also extracts a string from a length of string. So you pass in where you want to extract from here to here. Okay. So it says to use to extract part of a string, takes 2 integer arguments, a start position and an end position. So you remember each of the positions start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So you have to specify where you want to cut from. So that index, then comma, then where you want it to end. That will be the second argument. So it takes in 2 arguments. So the start, then the end position, to extract that part of the string for you. And the contains function check if the string contains whatever character you enter. Okay. So if you want to check if a particular string contains some information, then you can use the contains function. Okay. Then it's empty check if the string length is more than 1 and above. Okay, so it's empty. If the string is empty, nothing has been entered, it will return true. So if you are, when we start with the graphical user interface, we will use this method a lot to check if a user has entered something or not. So when we get the value from the input field, we will call this method, check if it's empty. We will tell the user to enter that input. So we will be using this method a lot when we get to the graphical user interface, when we are handling our form. So when the user enters everything, when we get the value, then we have to check if that field is empty. Then we tell the user to enter that field. Okay. Then append will add a string to another string. Okay. So append would you join the previous what you put here, it will join to the other string as well. Okay. So we'll take some few examples. And the ones that we haven't done yet, try them. So the one we haven't done in the code below, try them, and if you have any challenge, then we can talk about it. Okay. So in this example, we are going to write a game where the user will ask the user to enter the gender. So we'll get, if the user enters female, we just tell the user that the user plays unpaid. If the user enters male, we'll tell the user that he plays either football, he plays football. If a user enters anything else, which is it is neither female nor male, then we tell the user incorrect gender. So we are going to use a equals ignore case. So the equals ignore case, whether you enter all this in a capital block or you toggle the capital blocks, irrespective of the blocks you are using, it will return true because it is not case sensitive. So far as it is it matches whatever the user enters, matches the letters F, the first letter F, the second letter being E, the third letter being M, the fourth being A, the fifth being L, and the last being E. So irrespective of the cases, so far as they are in that order, then it's going to return true. So this if condition will be true, so this will be executed. Okay. So that is it. So this one you can code as well. Now you can as well, when you are doing comparison, you can as well convert the, either you use the ignore case, you can use the ignore case if it's not case sensitive, or you can as well convert the string to a particular case. So if you convert everything to the same case, then you can compare. So when you compare them, they are going to be the same. So for example, in this example, we converted our gender to a lowercase. So if you convert it to a lowercase, irrespective of the cases the user will enter, this will return it to be a lowercase. So we can compare it, we can use the equals. So you can use the equals because this is a lowercase, and what the user enter will also be in a lowercase. So if it's the same thing which has been entered, then it's going to be the same. So if you decide to use not to use the equals ignore case, you can convert them to a particular case. So if you convert them to a particular case, so what you are comparing to should also be the same case you converted your user input. So for example, in the female part, we use it to lowercase, so all the instances in lowercase. And for the male part, for demonstration sake, we have our text in capital block, so we converted the user input, which is the gender we get from the user, to an uppercase before we start to do the comparison. Okay. So we are going to code these two examples. So we have, so I can delete this one. Okay. So here you want to check if a user, so you say enter your gender. Okay, so string gender. So we get the gender from the user. Okay, so now using the first approach, using the ignore case. Okay, so we have if gender dot equals ignore case. So here we are using ignore case. Okay, equals ignore case. Okay, so here we are comparing with female. So female. Okay, so if the user enters female, irrespective of the keys the user has entered, we just tell the user that play and play. Okay, so those of you that are not, so Ampe is a game played by the females in Ghana some time back. Now they don't play it often. Only some few schools that maybe at the playground play that game. So the game is such that the two people playing will jump. Then each of them will move their foot. So if one decide that I like I choose that each of us will move the same foot. Okay. Then if the other person also say I choose the otherwise. So if they all jump at once, then they all lift the foot that they've decided. So if they have foot match, so then the one who choose the match will win. If it didn't match, the one who choose that it doesn't it choose the one which the foot doesn't match, then that person has won. So you can go and pay and see how the game is played on YouTube. So this is a game played by females in Ghana. So if you say you are a female, then they just tell you that you play and pay. Okay. So, but if you enter male, then we know that you play football. Even though not all males play football, but we assume that so far as you are male, you should know how to play football. Even if you are not good at it, you should at least be able to kick a football. Okay. So else, if gender dot ignore case so equals ignore case male. Okay. So if the user enters male, system dot out dot print len you play football or volleyball, however it is. Okay. Okay. So in this example, it's ignore. Okay. So whether you enter capital, any of you toggle the characters or irrespective of the case of your character, so far as the letters are the same, whether female or male, then it will fall within. If you enter anything else, it means you've entered the wrong input. So we just tell you that incorrect input. So that will be the final else. So else system dot print len incorrect input. Okay. So now we can run this. enter your gender. So I'm going to enter toggle. So like you can see, I'm toggling the letters, but this will work because the first one is M. It doesn't matter what whether it's in capital letter or not, because I'm using the ignore equals ignore case. Okay, so far as the letters are in that order, it's going to match. So like you see, it says you play football or volleyball. So I'm going to do that of female. So for that of female, can have this. Now it doesn't matter the case the letters are. If the far is in the order of the letters, then it will also work. Okay, so you play amping. Okay, as you can see, you play amping. So I'm going to enter anything other male or female, then it will give you incorrect input. Okay, so let's see. Enter gender. Okay, so like you see, it says incorrect input. Okay, so that's it. So now if you decide to use convert the string to one case so that you compare the same thing there, then you can use them as well. So here I can say gender dot to uppercase. Okay. Dot. Okay. Then so yeah, since it's an uppercase, we are using the equals. Okay. In the equals, this must also be in an uppercase. Now the one you are comparing it, the case you convert the input from the user, what you are comparing it should be the same case when it's marked. Okay. So yeah, if I decide to use the convert it to a lower case, to lower case, so this will convert it, and I call the equals. So the string, this will produce a string which will change to a lower case, and now I compare that one to my lowercase string I'm comparing it to, like this. So that. So in for example, in a password, if you are writing an application for a password, we change them normally to the same case so that it will match. So you change what the user will enter. For a password is case sensitive, so you don't change. But I'm talking about the username. For the username, it's not case sensitive. The user should enter any case that you want. So far as the username is correct, it should allow the user to have access to the application. So for username, the ignore case. So normally what you can do is that you change the user input to a lowercase, then the one you also have in the database, you also change to a lowercase. So you can compare the two if they are the same, so that irrespective of the case that the user enters, since each of them have been converted to lowercase, so far as the letters are the same, it will match. Okay, but for password, it's case sensitive, so that one we don't change anything to lowercase. We just use them equals and check if they are in order, whether it's in the same case or not. So for password, you just use dot equals. But for username, you convert what you have at the database and also what you get from the user to a lowercase. Then if they are the same value, then it means that is the person. So that one too, we check. So we write two conditions. We make sure that the username and the password is the same thing on the database. And if it's the same, then we grant the user an access to our system. If not, we just write to the user incorrect password. Okay. So remember, when you are comparing two strings, don't use the two equal to sign. You have to use dot equals. Now, if it's not case sensitive, you can use dot equals ignore case. Then it will ignore case. Now, another alternative is that you can convert them to the same cases. So the input you get from the user, you can convert it to an uppercase. And what you are comparing it to, you write it in an uppercase. Or you can convert it to a lowercase. Then what you are comparing it to, you also write it to a lowercase in that order. Okay, so that's it. So we are now on a part converting string to numbers. So like I explained to you, if you are getting input from the user in the graphical user interface, the input you get from the user is a string input. So you need to convert that string into a double or integer before you can do the calculations on them. Okay. So for example, in this example, it says write a program that takes the total hours worked in the month using the J option panel dialog box. Okay. So this is a new input we are going to start using from this week onward until we get to our graphical user interface. So the J option panel produces a dialog box where the user will enter something. Then when the user enters it and he clicks submit, then we are going to fetch the value the user has entered. Now, since it's a calculation distance, we have to convert it to double before we can use it for our calculation. So that's what you are going to learn, how to convert a string to a double or to integer and so on. Okay. So to use the J option panel, you need to import this class. So the way we're importing our scanner, here you import Javas. Remember, there's X here. So javas.string.j option panel. The J is capital, the O is capital, and the panel is capital. So you import this one. So once you import this one, you can call the J option panel, then show input dialog. Okay, so show input dialog. So the show input dialog, you just use this one now. So you don't have any frame here. So just now, then the text that will need to be displayed on the dialog, but so the user know what is supposed to enter, you write it in the second argument over here. Okay. So when the user submits, like enters and submits, the value will be stored in the variable you declare over here. So in this example, when user enters the name and submits, the value will be stored in your name variable. Okay. So in our example, for example, if you ask the user to enter hours work, so you get the hours work from the user, but you can't use it for calculation. You need to first of all convert it before you can use it. Okay. Now, if you want to show a message on the screen, you can also use the option panel dot show message dialog. So that one too, you can call the now over here. Then the message you want to display comes over here. So that one is show message dialog, and the input one is show input dialog. So that's the difference. So show input dialog gives the user the possibility to enter something, and show message dialog gives it brings a dialog on the screen with the message with it. Okay, so that's what we are going to use together with getting the input from the user. Okay, so to get to convert an input, to convert a string to a double, we use this function double dot pass it double. Then you pass in your string value in the argument. Okay, so remember double dot pass it double. Then in the argument will be your string value that will be converted to the double. For int, it's integer dot pass it int. Then you pass in your string value that you want to convert it to the string to the integer value. Okay, so we are going to do this example. That will be the final part of this, and then you will do your example assignment. Okay, so in that this week assignment, you write an application that counts the total number of vowels contained in a string entered by a user. Okay, so we've done array at, so char at. So it means that you need to get each of the char at their position. Then you check if it's a vowel. So you should know you can write a function to check if a letter is a vowel. You know all the vowels we have in the alphabet. So you get each of the positions of the letters. Then you check if it's a vowel. Then you count. If it's a vowel, then you count. So when you finish checking, so you use a loop. So you use a loop to look through at character at. So first you need to get the length of your string. So we know the length. We use what? Length. So we use a function or the method length to get the total number of strings we have. So once you know the total, you can look through them. Then you can get each of the letters using the char at. So char at position 0 will get the first one. Char at position 1 will get the second, and so on until you end your number of characters you have in that string. So once it's a vowel, then you count it. So you have a counter that will be increasing. If it's a vowel, then you display to the user how many vowels the string has. Okay. Then in the second example, you ask the user to enter an exam score. Okay, using a dialog box. So remember, once you get the dialog, you get the score from the user, you need to convert it to a double data type. Then you use a grading system we did when we were doing the if condition. Then you use that to calculate the grades. Once you get the grade, you display it in the message box. So you just display that grade A, grade B, plus grade B, and the rest. So that's your assignment. So if you have any challenge, you can contact me. But you will do this one, then that will be the end of the course. We just do some small revision, and that will be the end. Okay. So let's get started. So we need to import our javas. So javas.string.j option pan. So javas.string.j option pan. Okay, as you can see, it has even suggested before. Okay, so now we need the hours. So at the hour, so the string, you can call it HRS. Okay, then you have to get that input from the user. So HRS is equal to, so we have the day option dot show input dialog. Show input dialog. You'll use this one. The first one will be now. Then our message will be here. Enter hours work. So enter hours work. Okay. So once you finish enter hours worked, remember you need to convert it to double before you do your calculation. So we have double data, so hours, so this is the double value of our hours is equal to, then remember double dot pass it double. As you can see, it has suggested it for you. then our string values are HRS. So we are converting our string hours to double. Okay, so remember, if you are going to get a string, an input from the user in your graphical user interface or using the show input dialog, you need to convert the text into double by calling the double dot passive double. Then the string comes over here in the argument. Then this will be converted to double. So now you can use it in your calculation. So here it says our salary is the hours times the hourly rate. The hourly rate is 8.5. So if you want to add code it, then you can have double. If you want to use a constant to it, then the way you want. So you can have double is equal to our hours times 8.5. Okay. So remember, if you haven't converted these hours and you are using a string, you are going to get an error because you cannot do multiplication on the string input. That's why you need to convert it a double data type using the double dot passive double. Then you pass in the string value here, which you've gotten from the user. Then you can do your calculation. Then you can show the result. Okay. So we just use the J option pan dot show message. The second one is message dialog. So in the message dialog, our first input is going to be now, and our message, we can have the salary you can have the hours the user has entered. Then it's okay, so we can have GAC and the salary we've calculated, which is salary. Okay. Then we leave it. So now when we run this, what are we going to get? What are we going to get? Let's hope we don't get an error. Okay. What are you saying? Okay, so as you can see, enter hours work. So that's for the information. So enter hours work. Maybe I work for 25 hours. Okay, so now I click OK. Okay, so now I did the calculation of the hours. So hours is 212.5 Ghana cedis. Okay, so here I can just hours over here. Okay, so basically that's it. So that's it for today. So the new things we've learned is the new way of getting input. In our previous lectures, we were getting input using the scanner class. But since we'll be starting graphical user interface, we'll be using the java.string.j option pan in our subsequent so from week 7, week 8 and so on. We'll be using this as our form of getting input from the user. So remember that one, you need to import java.string.j option pan. And to get the input, you call this method show input dialog, which takes in no input over here. Then you enter the message you want to display for the user to know what to enter. Okay. Now if you want to use the dialog to show a message, then you call the show message dialog on your J option pan. Okay, so here too, this will be now, then the message you want to display screen will come here. So forming the string, we've already done in our previous lecture. So that one, you just add the string. The ones you are coding, you put them in the double quotation. And the ones you declare them as variable, you just add plus, then the variable name. Then if you are doing another one plus, then the once you are writing the text, then you put them in a double quotation. Okay. So basically that's it. So I'll take a quick revision, then that will be it for today. Remember to do the assignment. If you have any question, you can just contact me. So as you know, if you also have a challenge you want to share, or a sample code, a project, a simple project you decide to work on based on this week's content, you can as well log in, then you can post your code so that others can also see it and also learn from it. Okay. So we've seen how to convert string to numbers. We said, okay, so in the lesson, so for integer, we use integer.parse lesson. So for example, if let's say age, I have here to be, let's say for example age. So let's say I call here age. So I have sh, maybe sh, a string of age. Okay, so s, a string of age. Okay, then I tell the user your age. Enter your age. Okay, so now if I want to get the age, which is an integer, to know if the user is 18 or above, then I have to convert it to an integer. So int age will be integer. So here will be integer. We have integer int. So pass it int. Okay, then we have our string for the age. So sh. Okay. So here, if we want to check if it is if the person is older than 18 or not. So for example, if the person is 18, if you want to output that you can drink, if not, you cannot drink, then you can use the if condition. So if age is greater than or equal to 18, okay, then you can tell the person to drink. So else will tell the person you are not qualified to drink. So else, okay, so the output is going to be the age is an adult. You are an adult. You are 18 years old. You are an adult, so you can drink. So you are so you can have either the age or the S, either of them, years old. You are an adult, so you can drink. Okay. So the on you are not 18 or above, so you are not an adult, so you can't drink. Okay, you are not an adult, you are not an adult, so you can't drink. You are, so the years old, you are not, so you can't drink. Okay. So remember, what I want to emphasize is that to change from integer, from a string to integer, we use integer.parseInt. So integer.parseInt will change the string to an integer value. Then double.parseDouble will change that distance to a double distance. So let's test this one and see if we don't get any error. Okay, so enter your age. So I'm 7 old. Okay, so you are 17 years old. You are not an adult, so you can't drink. If the person enters 18 and above, it says you are an adult, so you can drink. So remember, to change a string to an integer, we call this function integer.parseInt. Then you pass in the string value. Okay, so that will return the string, the integer value of it. For double, then the double data type, the name of the double value, then double.parseDouble, then the string value over there. Okay, so basically that's it, how to convert numbers. Then we talk about certain methods you can use for string. Equals, check if the string is equal to. And the key thing I want to emphasize is that you can't compare two strings using a 2 equal to sign, like the way we compare numbers and those things. No, we use the equals ignore case. Okay, if you want to get how many characters are in a string, we use the length. Okay, if you want to get characters at a particular index or position, we use the char at, and so on. So some of these things we haven't tried them yet, so you try them. Okay, because of the time frame, we give you a guide, then you do more research and more practice. If you have any challenge, then you contact me. Okay, so you learn when you do more than you being spoon-fed. So if you always I'm giving you the information, you not learn much. So I'll give you the foundations, then you do research, you do more projects, and you learn from it. If you have any challenge, you contact me and I'll coach you, I will help you to solve it. That's how we learn from programming. Okay, so that's for comparing strength. Then you have two ways of declaring strength. We've also talked about it. Then we also see some functions you can use on the char data type, like the character dot is uppercase, check if the character is an uppercase, then to is lowercase, check if it's a lowercase. Then you can also use the to lowercase to change to a lowercase, to uppercase to change to an uppercase, and so on. Okay, so that's where our week content ends. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.